The recording along with the slides will be sent out to each of you within a few days so that you can refer back to the recorded session and review the slides. So it looks like everyone can hear. At this time, before I turn it over to Cammie, I'm just going to make sure that you all can hear Cammie, and I'll have her do an audio test as well.
Hey Anita, I hope everyone can hear me today. Looking good, almost everybody. How about you, Magdalena? Great.
Okay, looks like everyone can hear Cammie as well. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Cammie, and she will discuss the next step, your graduate school search. Take it away, Cammie.
Thanks a lot, Anita. Well, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining me today during this lunch hour, for most of you, I think. My presentation usually takes about 45 minutes, and we'll probably try to maintain some questions during the process, but we will definitely have some time at the end if anyone has specific questions that they'd like answered, or if they want to contact me for additional information. I'm Cammie Baker Clancy. I'm Director of Graduate Outreach and Admissions here at Empire State College. And for those of you, I take it you're all CDL students, which is great. So you're familiar with how our institution works. The graduate program is a little bit different. Our graduate program, for example, combines online coursework with some face-to-face interaction. And I'm going to briefly go over some of the programs that we have to offer at the end of the presentation. But first, let's talk about how you will start your graduate school search. A lot of this is very basic information, but again, it's nice for people to kind of go over it before they get involved in the process, kind of to have a checklist to make sure they know that they're not going to miss anything that they really need to think about before choosing a graduate school. So basically, we're going to go over starting your search, some resources that you can use, for example. We're going to talk about accreditation and what that means and why it's important. We're going to talk about the graduate admissions process, funding options, and then again, as I said before, we'll have some time for additional questions. When you're starting your research for a graduate school, these are just some questions I thought of that maybe you should ask yourself before you get involved in the search, to make sure that you really choose the right kind of academic focus and the right kind of degree program that's probably going to be the best fit for you. And first would be, what type of degree are you looking for? A Master of Arts, a Master of Science, maybe something more specific like an MBA program or an MSN, or an MSW, which would be a Master's of Social Work. Another important thing to look at within these titles of degrees is what kind of concentrations or emphasis areas do the institutions offer within those degree programs. Because quite often that's more, more important to your focus than the general title of what the degree is. Really, what is your area that you're going to study most specifically? Then you need to look at tuition and availability of additional types of financial aid. Not just, for example, federally funded student loans, for example. There are other things out there like assistantships and fellowships, as well as other scholarships for graduate students that you should be looking at. Because as we know, how our economic times are now, anything that we can get that will be helpful to us that does not include loans is certainly going to be a plus when considering graduate school. You need to reflect upon what are your personal circumstances. How am I going to fit in graduate level study with work responsibilities and family and other personal responsibilities? It's often good to look at the reputation of the school. For example, Empire State College is part of the State University of New York, which is a big plus for us because State University of New York is the largest state university actually in the United States. So you want to look at the reputation of the school and or the participating faculty in that particular program that you're looking at. Where they come from, what's their background? Do they have real work experience in that area, and where are their credentials from? Job placement or placement in doctoral programs. How many of the students within that particular master's degree program go on for other types of career paths, or how many go on for doctoral programs? That's an important information to know. Many schools are not going to have that specifically, but they may have some information on their websites or in printed material that highlights an alum of their program that will give you an idea of their background and where they've come from and where they've gone. Geographic location is important. Do you want to do a totally online program, or do you want a hybrid program that has some online and some on-site interaction? Or are you looking for a totally on-site program in a more traditional bricks and mortar program where you might go to class, say, every Tuesday or Thursday night from 7 to 10, just as an example. Things like support services and libraries and what is available to you if you need assistance when doing research on papers, for example, or if you are doing a survey or any kind of study when you're doing your final projects in a graduate degree program. What kind of support is out there for you? And again, environment is probably similar to the geographic location and the type of institution that you're looking at. What is the size of the institution? What else does it have to offer culturally or intellectually, for example, or what kind of internship opportunities might be available? Then the time required to complete a degree. At graduate level, this is a little bit different. Most of the time for master's degree programs, there's a 6-year time limit, meaning that once you start your degree program, you have 6 years to complete it. And that's because many students go part-time, or many students may have to stop out for a semester or two, depending on what might be happening in their lives. So that's an important thing to look at when you're looking at graduate schools and researching. And then the last thing I have here is accreditation. Is this institution legit? And the reason why I say that is, especially now, there's a proliferation of schools out there, many of them online. Many are fully accredited, and that's not a problem, but there are some out there that do not have really valid accreditation. So it's a great thing if you could do a little research up front and take a look at the Council of Higher Education Accreditation. And that's that link that I have there, and I see that Anita put it in the chat box, www.chia.org. It's a really good organization, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that later. I don't know if this live link would work there, but it's a great website, and it's very easy to look up by state the institution that you're considering to see if they're fully accredited. CHIA also, it's one of the 6, it includes the 6 regional accrediting bodies for the United States, and this is important because if you're accredited by one of, oh there. Thanks Anita, I think she's popping that up. We'll see if it comes out. There we go. That's what the first page looks like. But it's great because, especially when you go to this databases and directories, you'll see that on the second item here in the first column. That has all the directories for every state. There you go. And it's really it's a really important thing. We use it a lot here at Empire State College. So again, thanks, Nina. I think it's a really worthwhile resource tool for you when you are looking at graduate degrees, whether it's a master's degree program or going on for a doctoral program. Here's a few online resources. There's only 2 that I've listed. There's many, many more than this, but these are 2 that are pretty good, and they're common. A lot of schools use them. The Peterson's Guide to Graduate Schools. Now, if you're familiar with the undergraduate program, there's a Peterson's Guide for undergraduate programs as well. There's a hard copy of this that you could find at your local library in the resource areas. However, they have a great website online, petersons.com, which allows you to put in the state or the school or at least the degree program that you're looking for to have an idea of what might be the best program for you, considering all the different parameters that you might want, whether it's totally online or if they have specific internship opportunities and things like that. I included the graduateguide.com too, because that is also a great resource as well. And those are easy to remember too, those two particular areas. Here's just a screenshot so you have an idea of what it looks like, because I don't want to have Anita have to go out to the web for that. But okay, I don't know who that is. And you can see right here, what's pretty interesting is they have a lot of different links too that give you some other information if you're looking specifically for graduate schools or MBA schools or study abroad programs, etc. And here's the graduate guide as well. This is our link on here on the graduate guide. But again, it's you can't really see it well, but there's a lot of different links that give you information about graduate school fairs across the country or in your location. There's financial aid information. Information about test scores in case there's specific test scores that you need to take for a degree program that you might be interested in. So this information is available on a lot of these online resources that are out there. And again, they're very good, and at least it gives you a first step to get some idea of what's out there for your particular degree program. And I will tell you, you can just Google information on the greater World Wide Web. The only problem with that is quite often you're going to end up with paid links or searches that come up from institutions or professional website companies that kind of cobble some information together and direct you towards certain schools. So I kind of would rather err on going right to these resources online, because I think they're going to give you more pertinent information to the type of degree programs that you're interested in. We talked a little bit before on my list of questions that you need to ask yourself about accreditation, and Anita did provide you with the website link so you could see what the CHIA website looks like. Again, that includes regionally accredited institutions, and there's 6 regions here in the United States. There's also something that is considered professional accreditations, and those are things like the AACSB, which is for business schools, TIAC, which is for education programs, CCNE, for example, is for nursing programs. There are a lot of professional accreditations that may or may not be required for specific degree programs that are offered out there. These are additional certifications that, or excuse me, accreditations that particular degree programs within an institution might have. Things like TIAC or the CCNE, which is for nursing programs, some of them are really required for that particular program. Business schools less so. Some have AACSB accreditation, some have IACSB. There's a lot of different things out there. Again, for our purposes, when you're looking at master's degree programs or doctoral programs, really, Council for Higher Education accreditation is the main site that you should be concerned with. I only use this as an example because years ago, and I had a student who applied to our graduate degree program, and she had a bachelor's of social work and also a master's of social work from their university. And I was interested in why she was looking for a master's degree from Empire State College. And I realized that there are two Berry universities out there. There is one that is fully accredited, and that's located in Florida. And there is one that is a non-accredited institution that's located in Alabama. And unfortunately, this particular woman had her Bachelor's of Social Work as well as her Master's in Social Work from the non-accredited Berry University. And she had been working as a social worker. And unfortunately, when an audit was done at her office, it was determined that she had a non-accredited degrees, and so she lost her job, which was quite unfortunate. She paid decent money to go to those schools. She actually did schoolwork and put her time in, and unfortunately then lost her job because it was a non-accredited social work program. So this is why when you're looking at schools, whether it's bachelor's degree or certainly master's and doctoral programs, it's important to make sure that they're accredited by a valid agency. And again, that's the main page for CHIA. So then, once you've looked at researching programs and have an idea of what schools you're most interested in, and certainly you can find out lots and lots of information from their website and also from talking to any of their admissions professionals at their institutions. You want to know what's the process then from now. What are the deadlines? Are there program prerequisites, or GPA requirements? What about test scores? Quite often graduate schools require entrance exams. The GRE, which is a graduate record exam, or the GMAT, which is for business programs, or the Miller Analogies, which a lot of schools accept in lieu of the GRE. What kind of application essays or writing samples are required? How about letters of recommendation? So these are the things really you need to look at when you're thinking about what's the process now for me to apply to graduate school. It's a little bit more in depth than it is for undergraduate school. And Anita, if you could do a push out for the GRE information that I have there, that would be great. This is a handy thing that we use with our potential graduate students here at Empire State College. We require 2 essays as part of the admissions process at Empire State College. Most graduate schools will only require 1 essay. We have a personal statement essay, which again most graduate schools require, but we also require an analytical essay for students applying to graduate programs here at Empire State College. So a nice tool that we often tell our potential students about is the analytical writing section of the GRE. Even though we do not require the GRE as part of our admissions process, this is a really good resource for people if you're looking at what type of essays are going to be required of me as part of the admissions process, and then what level is expected to be acceptable. This is true for us because we're a writing-intensive graduate program. It really is going to depend on the type of program you're looking at, the subject area, etc. But this is a great resource tool for you to use. It's got some really good examples of what's a good essay and what's not a good essay. And also at the end of this PDF, towards the end of it, it's a 31-page PDF, so it is kind of lengthy, but again, it is a really good resource for you to use. There is scoring that you can look at, and you can see what faculty members look for when they're reviewing essays and how they might score something like that. We really look for an essay that would score between, I would say, 3.5 and a 4, more towards the 4 level. So when you look at the analytical essays in here, you'll get a sense of what a potential graduate student needs to present as part of their application process to be acceptable for graduate school. So that's good. Thanks a lot, Anita. Program prerequisites. For example, we have an MBA program here at Empire State College, and there's 3 prerequisite requirements. One is undergraduate level accounting, statistics, and then microeconomics. And that's just for our MBA program. So depending on what degree program you're looking for, you want to make sure you know what the program prerequisites are and to make sure that you have met those either within your bachelor's degree program or with additional coursework. Many graduate schools have GPA requirements. So you'll want to know, is a particular program requiring a 2.7 minimum GPA or possibly a 3.0, 3.2? I mean, you really should know that up front and to see if there's any other additional requirements before you can even be considered for that particular degree program. As I mentioned before, there's test scores that might be required, like the GRE, the GMAT, or the Miller analogies. All of these test scores might just be ranges within the degree program, so it would depend on the specific type of master's degree that you're applying to, what the score range might be. So that's important for you to check before you apply to one of the institutions. There's also a lot of good resources online that allow you to do some pre-testing and some some studying up on tests, because many of our students, for example, at Empire State College have been out of school for 20, 25 years and have not taken a standardized test in that long a period of time. So if you're graduating from our undergraduate program and are thinking about applying to a four-year, a master's degree program or a doctoral program, it's very important for you to look at if any of these particular entrance exams are required, and then again, boning up on that process to make sure that you have acceptable scores to get into the program. We talked about the essays. Letters of recommendation. Sometimes it's difficult for people to get letters of recommendation, especially if they've been out of school for a long time. Now, I'm assuming most all of you are ESC undergrads, and so you will have had some recent academic work and will have some exposure and some relationships with faculty members where you could probably get academic letters of recommendation. It should not be an issue for you. I will tell you, in our graduate program here at Empire State College, because we have students that have been out of school for a long time and have not, be very difficult for them to get an academic recommendation, our second choice is professional. And when I say professional, I don't mean it has to be a supervisor at work. It could be a colleague that you've worked on a special program with. It could be if you belong to a community organization and have worked on a specific project with somebody. It could be someone in that capacity. So it's important for you to look at what is acceptable for any particular graduate school as far as letters of recommendation go. Every school will have a form that you have to fill out, and then you could probably submit an additional letter as well. Make sure that you know exactly what is supposed to be submitted so that you don't make a mistake. What we find in our graduate program quite often is that people read too quickly and they sometimes skip over important aspects of their application process. So you want to make sure that you make a list for yourself and you hit everything and make sure that you have all the requirements submitted in a timely manner, especially when deadlines are concerned. Because you want to make sure you get your application in within the deadline so that you get an answer back in a timely manner. And that will help you figure out financing, for example, for your programs. Now I'm just going to talk a little bit about our graduate programs, if you don't mind. Oops, nope, sorry. And how do you pay for this? I apologize. I have two different sets here. This is more important than our graduate programs. How do I pay for this? We have a great financial aid website here at Empire State College. But this isn't a very good website too, because it does give you some ideas about other aid. And Anita, do you want to do a push out to that, just to give them an idea what it looks like? Great. And again, this has information about loans and scholarships, military aid, because we have quite a few students who are involved in the military, either as veterans or active duty or National Guard, for example. And all of those different areas have different types of funding. So it's important to take a look at what could be available for you. There's information there about different types of scholarships and fellowships. Again, that's interesting too, because perhaps you have the opportunity to get a fellowship. We have a few fellowship programs that we have here in our graduate program. Or at some schools you might be able to get an assistantship, which would entail you working actually with a faculty member, whether it be grading papers or doing research and or things of that nature. It's a way for you to get some funding that will not require you to pay back like a loan would. This is also good too because it talks about admissions testing and then private loans. Example. Thanks a lot, Anita. That's good. You can also look at employer reimbursement. Now, that has changed over the years, certainly with the economy. So we do have some employers that are no longer offering reimbursement. But if you have an employer that is going to reimburse you for tuition, it's definitely something you should look into because it's a very important tool to use within your career. And again, will save you money in the long run as far as financing your advanced degree. And as I mentioned before, fellowships and assistantships. We have a fellowship here. We have a couple of them actually. We have a SUNY Diversity Fellowship. We also have Rosa Parks Fellowship for our labor students. So there's various different funding opportunities that are available at our school as well as many other schools. So it's totally worth it for you to really investigate all of that up front to see what could be available to you. I just want to share with you our master's degree programs. Right now we have 6, but we will be adding a 7th for the fall term. We offer an MA in social policy, which really focuses on policy issues, analysis, implementation, for example. You can create an emphasis area within the MA in social policy that is probably particular to your career area. We have a few students right now who are focusing on non-for-profit management, for example. We have an MA in Labor and Policy Studies, also focused on policy issues. Right now it has 2 distinct kind of emphasis areas. One is work, workers, and labor organizations, really focused on people that work for unions or are organizers, for example. Public sector employment relations is really more the human resource aspect of a public institution that someone may work for. You still, within the MA in Labor and Policy Studies, though, have an opportunity to create an emphasis area within your electives as well. I think I have one student right now who's doing project management, for example, as an emphasis area. We offer an MA in Liberal Studies, and that is a type of degree that allows you to create your own area of focus based on a theme or a question or a problem that you want to research. It's really the best kind of program, I would say, for someone who's involved in maybe the humanities or social sciences. It is probably the most similar program to our undergraduate program. And I see Magdalena has a question. I'll answer that right in a minute. We offer an MA in Teaching, which is really for career changes. It's for people who have a career in a certain area but now find that they would like to teach either at the middle or high school level. And we offer certification opportunities in specific areas. And those content areas would be math, any of the sciences, French, Spanish, social studies, and English. We offer an MBA, which is our Master of Business Administration. Again, you can create an emphasis area within your electives. It is the one program that we offer that has assessment of prior learning. So you can do assessment for up to 24 of the 48 credit hours within our MBA program. I would say the average amount of credits people test out of is between 6 and 14, but I have had, in the 11 years of the program, I've had probably about a dozen people test out of the full 24. And then this spring we're offering a new MA in Adult Learning, and that will also have an assessment component for up to 6 credits, graduate level learning. And what is not on this list, but will be offered in the fall, is our Master of Arts in Community and Economic Development. And hopefully we'll have that information on our website very soon. All these other programs there is, if you go to the graduate page, which you can see it at the bottom of this slide, www.esc.edu/grad, there will be information on each one of these programs. So let's go back here and look at Magdalena's question. Does Empire State College accept Educational Incentive Program funds for online courses? That is a very good question. I don't really know what those are, Magdalena. If they're funds coming from a particular agency, or if it's coming from the Labor Department, certainly I'm sure that would be acceptable for online courses, but it would depend on where that funding is coming from. And I would say the best person to ask would be our financial aid office, because they're very much on top of a lot of these things. Victoria has a question, can I go for any major for my master's different from my BS? Victoria, that actually is a great question, because I think sometimes people think, for example, well, I have a history degree, so now I can only get a master's degree in history, and that is not true. What is most important is, do you have any of the prerequisites for the particular program that you're interested in? So, for example, our MA in Labor and Policy Studies does not have any prerequisites. You have to have a bachelor's degree program, but there's not specific coursework that you need to have in place before you involve yourself in that particular master's degree program. However, the Master of Arts in Teaching, for example, you must have the content area in the undergraduate level in one of those certification areas like math or science or French in order to be considered for the degree program. So if you had, for example, a bachelor's degree in psychology, you may not have 30 credits in math or 30 credits in French. That will give you the content area required to be considered for that particular degree program. The Master's of Business Administration is a great example, because we have a lot of people in our MBA program who have bachelor's degrees in communications or sociology or just different areas, but they went out and took the prerequisite courses of statistics, accounting, and microeconomics at the undergraduate level so that they would meet the minimum requirements to be considered for the MBA program. And I think that happens a lot, because you do have people that have a degree in one area but then find themselves actually in a career in a different area and would like to pursue their advanced degree in that particular framework, even though that's not what their bachelor's degree is in. So I think it's really important to look at the degree programs at those institutions and find out what, again, the prerequisites are. Now let's see what Dan's question is. Is there a centralized source of info for fellowship assistance programs? I don't believe so. That's why I think that one website I provide for you is a good website. We do have information on our website that has all of our programs in one spot. So I can provide that for you too, Dan. If you want to email me later, I'd be happy to do that. And I could also find out from a few of my friends at other institutions if there is a resource that they use that specifically has a centralized source for fellowships and assistantships. You know, mostly those are particular to the institution to which you're applying. So there may not be like a really good outside resource that would steer you in the right direction for all those. It might just be something you're going to have to do when you narrow down the degree programs that you're interested in and the institutions. Let's see with Diana's question. When looking, I found that some courses are graduate level courses of undergraduate ones. Okay. Diana, I see what your question is. I mean, quite often undergraduate level courses will have similar titles that graduate level courses do, but just because the titles are the same do not mean that the level is the same. So I always remind students, especially our own students who a lot of times take, gosh, 14, 16 credits sometimes at the undergraduate level during a term. Graduate school is much different. The amount of work required for each course is quite a bit more. And for example, to be considered full-time at the graduate level, that would be 9 credits. So as you can see, that's not what it is at the undergraduate level. So I guess to reiterate, Diana, just when you're looking at some of the courses, just because titles are similar does not mean that the graduate course is a rehash of an undergraduate course. And I hope I'm getting your meaning okay. So I do apologize if I'm not. So let me know. I'll try to answer it better. I can. I did great. Thanks, Diana. We also at Empire State College have advanced certificate programs. We just started these last fall, and we have a lot of students involved in them for many different reasons. Some of them do not want to get into a full master's degree program. They're really looking at how can I take graduate level courses and obtain a credential that will help me in my career, but not go into the full master's degree program. So at this point, we have 4 certificate programs that are specifically applicable to our MBA program, but they are also transferable into any of our policy studies programs, for example. So we have healthcare management, non-for-profit management, project management, and human resource management. These courses are all taught online, so there is not a face-to-face component to those. And then we also have a public history certificate, which we get a lot of people who work for museums or historical societies, for example, who are engaged in the public history certificate. That can also be part of our Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program. So it's very interesting. In fact, I think I have one student interested in our labor program that's doing public history because of her interest in labor history. So these are nice ways to get started in graduate level work without having to engage totally in a master's degree program. There's one caveat I like to remind people of, though, when we're looking at certificates, and that is that if you're enrolled in one of our certificate programs, you are not eligible for federal financial aid unless you are concurrently enrolled in one of our master's degree programs. So, unless you're getting funding through an employer or another non-federal funding source, you're probably not going to get financial aid for an advanced certificate unless you're already enrolled in one of our master's degree programs. So let's look at Jessica's question here. Does the MA in Teaching lead to New York's teaching certification? Yes, it does. Is there the possibility of a master's program for early childhood education or special education opening within the next 2 years? Jessica, those are great questions. As I said, our MA in Teaching does lead to New York State teacher certification in middle and or high school. We have a lot of our students that do both. They'll get their certification in one area, and then once they graduate, they'll add a second certification. This happens a lot with people who might be math certified and then have a chemistry background, for example, or let's see, French and Spanish people. So we have a lot of people that luckily have enough credits in both areas that they could just do both if they could, but they have to choose one when they're in our program until they graduate. We will not have a master's degree in early childhood education, I can tell you that, but we have just gone through the initial phases of special education. We're hoping to submit that to SUNY and then to the State Education Department. So we hope to have a master's degree in special ed within the next couple of years. So that's a great question, Jessica. Let's see. Amy's got a question. If I decide to complete a certificate program, then decide to complete my MBA, will these credits transfer over? Yes, they will. And our normal transfer policy is 9 credits of transfer, but for a certificate program here at Empire State College, if you take the 12 credit certificate and then apply to the MBA program, then the full 12 credits will transfer into the MBA. If, for example, you took something like nonprofit management and then decided I want to apply for the social policy master's degree, 9 of the 12 credits will transfer in. So public history for the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies, all 15 credits. So this is very positive for students because they kind of get 2 credentials at once. I can tell you our master's degree students love this, and they really want more certificates. So we actually have some more in the pipeline that we're hoping will be approved by SUNY and State Ed shortly. But this is what we have on tap right now. And I do think it really helps people because, again, these are a little bit more specific. So it's not only your concentration area within your master's degree program, but then it's it's you know, a separate credential. Well, this has been good. We still have some time. If you haven't visited our website, please do so if you're interested in any of our graduate programs. And again, it's just /grad, and you'll go in there and you'll see as we add programs, we will be adding information. And I said questions, but we know that you're asking questions now, so I'll just put my contact information up here too. And you know, if anyone thinks of anything, please feel free to raise your hand and then start typing in the chat box, because we have about 15 minutes left. Great, you guys. Just get typing, and I'll answer them for you as best I can. If you want to give us a call, please feel free to call the School for Graduate Studies at our 800 number. So there's our toll-free number. And there's 3 of us that you can talk with. Evan Reese, and Evan's at extension 2904. Jill McAvoy is at 2220, or myself. I'm at 2393. Or you can email us at grad@esc.edu. And certainly we'll answer questions for you about any of our graduate programs or our certificates, but if you have a question about the graduate school search in general, even if it's not about our school, do feel free to give us a call, and we'll try to help you as best we can. Because especially if you're Empire State College undergrads, well, no matter where you're from, but I know you guys are mostly CDL folks, we are happy that you want to become lifelong learners, and our goal is to support you in that, whether it's coming to our graduate school or going to another graduate school. So let's see Diana's question. Since this is a writing-based program, what are the distinctions in the professional world? Well, let's see. That's a hard question to answer, Diana, and that's basically because you know, depending on what business you work for or what organization, they might have different perceptions about different schools. I think because we're so writing-based, it helps people really think critically more. And I do this in comparison with my graduate school, which I did do a lot of writing and research, but we don't really have any kind of standardized testing here in our graduate school. You know, like multiple choice or those type of things. It's really case studies and essay questions. That's really how we run most of our graduate program. So it's a lot of research and writing. And when you're looking at other graduate schools, kind of look at how they have it structured and see. Some people do better in a program that is less writing intensive, and but others thrive on that. So it really, really depends. And I think too, years ago, people used to think online schools, a lot of negative against online schools. But now I think certainly people realize, especially in the last 10 years, that sometimes online schoolwork takes a little bit more commitment on the part of the student, and really more, you know, self-motivation for you to really make sure you keep up with your schoolwork, because you don't have that, you know, every Tuesday night, as I said before, face-to-face class where you have to go. So really it's rigorous. And so, you know, I don't know, it's going to depend on the employer or the professional arena that you're involved in as to how they would view a degree from our school. But we're part of the State University of New York. We are the non-traditional branch. We are one of the 13 comprehensive colleges, the arts and science colleges. And others, for example, our sister campuses would be Oneonta and Oswego, Plattsburgh, Purchase, for example. But we are the largest of the 13. And we have almost 20,000 students. In the graduate program, we have about 1,000. So that's going to be very typical with the other comprehensives within the SUNY system. So I hope that gives you a little bit of a perspective on it, Diana. I hope I helped a little bit. Tara has a question. What is the likelihood of other schools accepting certificate program credits? Should be no problem, because they're graduate credits. They are graduate level credits. It would be just like if you took them as a non-matriculated student. but the difference is you're a matriculated student and you're actually getting a certificate. So should have no problem, as long as you meet all the other criteria. And Tara brings up actually a good point, because every school has a different transfer policy. For example, at Empire State College, we will accept up to 9 credits of graduate transfer as long as they're from an accredited institution, they're less than 7 years old at the time of admission, and that they're a minimum grade of a B. So Tara, if you're looking at other schools, they might say, well, we'll accept 6 credits, and they have to be within 5 years, or we'll accept 12 credits. I mean, it really depends on the institution. So that's a great thing to consider when you're out looking at other graduate schools. What is their transfer policy? Victoria said, I did online registration orientation and have not heard anything. Am I in graduate studies? When I do, when do I sign up for classes? Victoria, I am thinking that you probably did the online orientation, and the next term that's coming up is our January term. So registration will commence in November. I don't know exactly when, but I think it's towards the middle of November. So when that happens, then you'll have an opportunity to sign up for the courses. So I guess I would want to know if you were a certificate student or a new student coming in a degree program. So think about that and shoot me an answer, and then we'll see what Jay's question is. A master's degree in historical studies. We don't have that, Jay, but certainly the closest thing would be our MA in liberal studies. We have a lot of historians that teach in that particular program, and as I mentioned before, we do have that certificate area in public history. And an area like historical studies lends itself to a Master of Arts in Liberal Studies program very well. So that would be the degree program that I would consider if I were you, if you were looking at that. Diana had a good answer there about writing. Yes, I think if you are gated that way, if your aptitude is in writing, a graduate program that is heavy on the writing is probably going to be best for you. And if you're a creative writer, again, the Master of Arts in Liberal Studies. We've had people write books as their final project for the Master's degree program. So had a lot of very interesting people in our Master of Arts in Liberal Studies. Okay. Marie's got a very in-depth question. Wow. Marie, your question is about social work, so that's going to be more difficult for me to answer. I will tell you, if you did not complete your bachelor's degree in social work, you would have to do that. It would have to be a specific degree, undergraduate degree in social work. And we don't have one there. In our master's degree program, our social policy program really focuses on policy issues. It would not be equivalent in any way to an MSW. A lot of the MSWs in New York State, and I'm assuming it will be true of Rhode Island too, are 60 credit hour programs. I don't know about licensure. With your experience in Rhode Island, I don't know how that is counted in New York State. So sadly, those are a lot of questions I can't answer for you, and I do apologize. I do know you might want to look at that Peterson's guide online, petersons.com, because there are a few accredited, non-traditional MSW programs out there. There's one at Adelphi, which is also here in New York State, but I know there's a few others that are accredited, and that would be something for you to look at. Now again, they might have required that you have a BSW at your undergraduate level. So again, you want to look at any graduate schools. What are the prerequisites requirements? Do they want a specific bachelor's degree, or are there just prerequisites that they're looking for? And I see what Tara's question. You can, Tara, if you see some courses that we offer at the graduate level that are good courses, but they're not the specific degree program that you're interested in, you could take them as a non-matriculated graduate student and then transfer them to another school. Again, I would just be careful as how many you take and the subject area, and make sure that you know what schools you might be interested in, so that you take enough that will transfer and not too many. Again, like I mentioned before, some schools only take 6 credits in transfer, some take 9, some may take 12. It really just depends. Let's see what Mike's question. Oh, lots of great questions, you guys. Wow. Mike has a bachelor's degree in business and wants to get a master's in biology. I don't really know. Again, you're going to have to look at what your electives in biology are. Normally for a biology major, you have to have microbiology, you have to have anatomy and phys, 1 and 2. There's quite a lot of different things. You probably have to have plant biology. So I would look at, again, master's degree programs in biology and find out what their requirements are at the for undergraduate to come into the master's degree. That way it'll help you build what you might need at the undergraduate level if you're missing anything. Again, that's, it's going to be specific to that particular degree program. Diane has a question about when the appropriate time to apply to graduate school is. Every graduate school is going to have a different deadline, so you want to make sure you know what that is first. For Empire State College, our upcoming deadline for spring term is November 1st, and then for next fall is June 1st. So you just have to time it about when you're going to be completed with your bachelor's degree program and when the next upcoming deadline is. But every college is going to have a different one, so make sure you research that as well. Okay, DF, if you begin by taking classes as a non-matric and then decide to matriculate, will any of the classes be counted? Yes, they will. We will count usually up to 2 of the courses. So you're allowed to take 3 as a non-matriculated student, and 2 of those 3 can be considered for transfer into your master's degree program. Again, as long as they're a grade of B and have been taken within the last 7 years. Let's see. Marie said, my last school doesn't have MSW, but I'm still interested in social policy. Great. Marie, that sounds great. And really look at our social policy program because we're coming up with some concentrations and certificates in advocacy at the different levels. So that might be a close match for what your area of interest is, but again, not totally social work, more of the policy aspect. So I think it might be a good fit by the time you complete your undergraduate degree. Yep, and I just wanted to say I see I need to put up the deadline for spring term November 1st. That's our priority deadline. So again, we'll probably take applications that are received after that point as well, probably up to December.
Cammy, I see that Victoria answered a little bit more about the question.
Yeah, Victoria, do me a favor, so I know exactly who you are and your whole circumstances. Oops, wait a minute. I did the wrong thing. Oh, this room. Here we go. I'm putting my email address in here. Victoria, send me an email if you can, and I will investigate for you, see exactly what your situation is, and I'll shoot you an email and tell you what to expect. Let's see, Diana found the BA course would take flow right into a master's. Great. Well, as Anita, also known as Teresa, I'm just kidding, Anita, said we're nearing the end of our session. Thank you for your attention, everybody. And if you do have additional questions, please feel free to, send me an email. I put my email up in the chat box. You can see that it's cammy.baker-clancy@esc.edu. Or again, give Evan, Jill, or myself a call, or email us at grad@esc.edu, and we'll try to help you out the best we can. Again, whether or not it's our graduate school or another graduate school, we'd like to at least try to give you some pointers. Again, this was meant to be very general, so I hope I provided enough good information for you to at least get you started.
Thank you very much, Cammy. This was great. Thank you very much, Cammy. And thank you to all who were able to attend. I just wanted to give you one more reminder that today's session was recorded, and the recorded link along with the slides will be sent to you in a few days, so you can always refer back to that. So thank you, everybody, and hope you have a great day. Bye-bye.
Thanks a lot, Anita.